So in today's video, I want to talk about something I highly advise you not to do on your 2024 Africa Twin adventure sport like I did, and I'm finding out the hard way. That is the tires. As you can see, I would say, a fairly aggressive knobby. They're the Battle Axe AX41s. I love and swear by this tire. Use it on my 22 Africa Twin, my Triumph Tiger, multiple other bikes. I love this tire. It's amazing off-road and amazing on-road. So why the heck am I saying I hate it on my 2024 Africa Twin? Well, let's go for a ride, and I want to actually talk about it while we're riding and give you the raw examples. So first things first, of course, my opinions are my opinions. This will depend on your skill level and, again, what kind of riding you want to do. Out here by me, a lot of what you're seeing right here, this is the kind of riding we have. Lots of fire roads, a little bit of loose gravel here and there, some occasional mud, very dry right now. And the first time I came out riding this route, which you can probably see a lot of my tire tracks right in there, actually, it was downpouring. It was wet and it was sloshy. So I'm really going to be able to talk about these in all those situations. You can really see my tire track from previously right down there. And again, it's just dipped into that dirt. There it is, really good right there. And a couple things you're probably going to notice just as in sitting position here is you can see I still have traction control on and my wheelie control. If you noticed in my review video of this bike, I showed you to turn that off completely. Like, it's not just turning off traction control, you got to turn off wheelie control as well. That person did not have wheelie control, they lost a wheel. But anyways, you got to turn off both of them so you don't get any of that traction control kicking in, which you'll notice it kicking on quite a bit here since I keep it on 2 notches with these tires, which again, I'm going to talk about while we're riding. And this is where this tire really comes into play as being pretty darn good. As I'm focusing on the bad things about it, there is good things. You can go from dirt and right onto the street, and they're really grippy. It's a very soft compound because you all know these tires don't last long, especially the rear one, 2,000, 3,000 if you're lucky on a big heavy bike. But again, I don't think the off-road and on-road is a good combination for this bike, being 550 pounds, the 19-inch front wheel. And when you get into the twisties, you feel that lack of connection with these being knobbies. But the key thing I want to focus on here, as we're going to get on some more dirt here, a basic fire road, this 19-inch front wheel. So let's get going here a little bit and we'll get into some turns. Now, I never really take my turns fast. I'm not an aggressive rider. This stuff's pretty loose and dry. So going into turns like this, number one, the knobby, so you don't got that full contact of, say, a touring wheel or a street wheel, right? Where you constantly feel that turn go all the way around. So you got knobbies, you got that separation, we all know that. But right along with that, this 19-inch front wheel, as you all know, riding on the street, or if you ride street bikes, a smaller wheel turns easier, right? I'm so used to 21-inch wheels on my dual sports or in my previous Africa Twin, Triumph and such. Okay, we got a car out here. But let me focus and get past this car and I'll get back with you here. So anyways, again, we all know that smaller front wheels, they make that turn so much more snappy. Leaning into those twisties, it feels great. You lock in and you just pull into them. Because going into these, it almost makes you lean that bike just as much as if you're on the street. So I find myself taking my turns even a little bit slower, or if I don't, I feel it skipping along and like, oh geez, I should not be leaning this big old bike that much on the dirt. I should leave that for the street, which it does absolutely amazing. But like just right there, I felt it lean, and that's not me. Again, I'm not an aggressive rider. It's just a smaller wheel. When you get that slight lean, it leans more. So yes, over time and practice, I'm sure, okay, I'd get used to it, but still, it's not a feeling I enjoy. Now, hitting straightaways like this here, I mean, all day long, it's perfectly fine. I mean, it grips, you got that traction, it's biting, it's pulling. The front wheel is not dancing. You can see my bars, hopefully. I mean, they're not moving around a bunch at all. They're just going with it, you know? And it feels really nice and planted for stuff like this. We all know this adventure sport is built more for touring. And some people will say, how does it fare off-road compared to the 22 I used to have? We'll make this a multi-purpose video here. We'll talk about that as well. And this bike does perfectly fine off-road. Like, let's be honest. I say this in all of my big bike videos, or Africa Twin videos at least. Oh, geez. That was, I don't know if you guys saw that little jerk right there. That's exactly what I'm talking about, and it happens all the time. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. These big, massive 80V bikes, Africa Twin, Triumph 1200, BMW GS's, 90% of us, as much as we don't want to admit it, we're doing stuff like this and going to Starbucks, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. As much as we don't want to say it, that's what we're doing. But you know what? That's perfectly fine, and I have come to accept that. This is the kind of off-roading I like doing. Heck, even on my dual sport, this is what I like doing. I just love getting out into nature, turning down some random roads, and just riding, just enjoying the day. And I think the thing is, when everybody's big 80V bikes are all like, oh geez, let me get out and do this, let me show you what this machine can do, let me wheelie it, yada yada. I totaled my Triumph Tiger 900 Rally Pro, and after that was a eye-opening experience for me. You know, no one's going to realize that until it happens to them, and hopefully it never happens, you know, to you or anybody. But myself going through it, you know, it's not worth it. It really isn't, you know. And these big, massive bikes, they're a handful off-road, even on easy off-roading. They are a handful. So compared to the 22 to this one, they're both going to do every single thing that you want to do off-road. Whether that be with the 19-inch wheel, the 21-inch wheel, slightly higher ground clearance or whatever, they both are going to do it the exact same. Let's be honest, none of us are doing those Honda promo videos, launching our bikes all around the place. None of us are doing that. So if you sit down and really think about it and come to that realization like I did, like, okay, yeah, I got an adventure bike, and I'm going to go on adventures, right? For sure. I'm going to do plenty of off-roading like this, and plenty of road riding, probably more road riding. Ah, gosh, I hate that soft stuff. I hate that soft stuff with this big heifer and those tires. But I think going knobbies like this, they take away so much of the enjoyment of that 19-inch front wheel and a more road-worthy tire. Like, I was having so much fun with this bike on the road with the stock tires. I was having so much fun with it. I still have the stock tires, but I'm not going to go back to them because, again, those were horrible on even stuff like this. I mean, they were dancing around, sliding around everywhere. Those tires are meant for the road, and that's it. And yes, they perform amazing on the road, but they also perform amazingly horrible on any kind of off-roading. So you're probably asking, well, okay, man, you took off great road tires, you're hating on these great off-road tires. What am I going to do? Well, I actually purchased the Bridgestone, or the Dunlop Trail Max Mission, and I honestly think that is going to do the riding I want. It's going to give me that great road riding. It's going to give me plenty of confidence on basic riding like this. Probably slide a little bit into curves. Not going to be great in sloshy stuff, but for the kind of riding I'm going to do, and I believe many of us will end up doing with this bike, I think those Trail Max Missions will probably be the perfect fit. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, because I'm going to slap those on these within the next week. As much as it stinks, I'm taking a loss. These tires were roughly around $400. I'm not happy about that, but I would rather be safer and feel more confident on my bike, again, for all of my kind of riding, and I think those are going to do it. So again, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, and we'll talk about those once we get those on this bike. So with that quick ride and conversation bit right there, what do I want you to take away from this? Number one, hopefully this was able to help you out and you can learn from my mistake and you don't waste $400. We buy an Africa Twin or a big ADV bike, and we all think we're going to, again, conquer the world with it, right? It's a 550-pound bike, 500, whatever. Anything above 400 is pretty darn lofty, right? And this bike specifically, with that 19-inch front wheel being more touring focused, you just feel it leans so much. It performs amazing on the road. It performs amazing off-road. It's going to do everything you want it to, but just keep it at that tame level that it's at. Don't go too aggressive like this where you think you're going to go climb mountains like I was thinking. You take away so much enjoyment of it with that 19-inch front wheel, being able to cut turns and get into the twisties. And then off-road, that 19-inch front wheel coming into turns is just not pleasing. And that goes same on the twisties. As good as these tires are on the road, it's just not great. They don't suit this bike. Again, we're going to stick to something a little more road focused on this. So make sure to subscribe, hit that bell, and we're going to cover those Dunlop Trail Max missions and see if they suit this bike a lot better. We all know the longevity is going to be a whole lot better than these tires, but that's not really my concern here. My concern is to bring back that great characteristics of the 2024 Africa Twin with that 19-inch front wheel. This is definitely a no-go.